Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
We are here presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, we're doing a podcast?
We are, Zach, but I've got news for you. We're getting a remake.
We are?
We're getting a remake.
I didn't even know we were doing a podcast and they're already remaking us?
Well, When You Wish Upon a Star, man.
Oh, right. You know what? That makes sense because we're Disney cast members. Mm-hmm. And while we do not speak for the brand of the company, we're always down for a remake.
We are. And I've got bad news for you, Zach.
Yeah.
This is the last podcast episodes
Oh, okay.
where you and I are working together.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
This is your last week in Fantasyland.
It is.
Or, wait. Well, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe something will come up. Maybe we'll do something.
Don't you go there.
Maybe we'll do something with D23. Who knows?
Yeah, well.
But who knows?
That's true, yeah.
Who knows? But you know what? It might be. But
we're still going to be here together.
So, but don't worry. We'll still bring you our little movie podcasts and excellent little podcasts. Say that
5 times fast.
But
and we got other things in the pipeline.
Yep. So don't worry, we won't be going anywhere, even if distance in the company does separate us.
No.
So, today we're talking about Pinocchio.
This is the remake of the 1940 Disney classic.
Yep. But now with a little bit of 2022 shine.
Yeah. 82 years.
Wow.
I mean,
genuinely, wow.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a lot of history on there.
Well,
and to be honest, like, I'm not going to lie, to me, whenever I think of Disney, When You Wish Upon a Star is the song that I think of.
Oh, for sure.
Just a ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. So, like, I feel like it's the company's theme song.
Well, and if you think about it, so, confession time.
Yep.
I did not watch the original Pinocchio until Disney Plus launched.
Really?
I had seen pieces, but I
never watched it all the way through.
Not because I saw the donkey changing scene.
Oh yeah,
and I was scarred for life.
Scarred at pretty much every kid.
I mean, and to this day, I have not smoked a cigarette.
Well, and here's the thing: I can't wait for because I have not been to Disneyland, and I hear that the donkey scene and the Disneyland dark ride
terrifying,
is freaking horrifying.
Yeah, well,
so I cannot wait to go to Disneyland.
Well, same thing for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the hell scene. I mean,
my mom actively does not think that that's what happened, and that's her favorite ride from Walt Disney World was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And I was like, you can ride it in Disneyland, and yeah, the hell scene is pretty ridiculous, ain't it? And she was like, what hell scene?
Well,
he went to hell.
Well,
I mean, like, no, he didn't.
I watched an old YouTube video of the Walt Disney World version, and that ending is literally terrifying.
Yeah,
but we digress.
Yeah, let's with old Disney. Let's move on to new Disney.
Yeah,
new old Disney. However you want to phrase it.
Yeah. So Pinocchio, the Disney 2022 remake, is directed by Robert Zemeckis,
which. You were mentioning a little bit before this podcast. Robert Zemeckis wasn't the original director for this movie?
No.
What were you saying about that?
Paul King was supposed to direct it because he was the director of Paddington 2.
Yep. But good movies, by the way.
Oh, yes. I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet.
First one's the better one, but Paddington 2 is still exceptional.
Oh, yeah. So, Robert Zemeckis came into this not from his own power, and Disney didn't go to him from what I heard.
Okay.
Tom Hanks went to him to get him hired.
Well, and why did the original director step back again?
Family reasons,
Oh, right,
I think.
family reasons, that's right.
And so I'm going to throw this onto the playing field, if you will.
Okay.
Every scene in this movie, you just feel like, oh yeah, that's totally Robert Zemeckis. I mean,
sure.
The man who directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, literally, the whole entire film just spits Robert Zemeckis.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. Totally would agree that it's definitely a Robert Zemeckis film. And to be honest, with the whole kind of like CGI Renaissance movement that has been happening in Disney, Robert Zemeckis has always been at the forefront of trying to bring CGI further and further and further in with stuff with like Polar Express and
Christmas Carol,
and
Beowulf,
Why Mars Needs Moms. Or
Yeah, didn't he do the Beowulf film?
He did do the Beowulf.
I
films.
thought out of all those films that it was literally nothing but CGI. The motion capture ones, Beowulf was the best in my opinion.
I liked Polar Express a little bit more than Beowulf.
That makes sense.
I was a kid, and admittedly, I did see Beowulf. I did see the trailer for Beowulf, and I wanted to see it, but my parents were like, no. Because they saw the one scene of Angelina Jolie from the trailer, and they were like, nope.
But it's animation. I mean, come on.
Realistic animation. But nah, it's
But yet they have not made a single one of those movies since Mars Needs Moms.
Well, I mean, if you've seen Mars Needs Moms, you know kind of why. But
So yeah, Robert Zemeckis directed this. Screenplay is by Robert Zemeckis and Chris Weitz. Now, quick little thing on this. Chris Weitz was supposed to write the script. He wrote the script.
Okay.
So one quick thing. Paul King also wasn't the first choice for direction. Sam Mendes was.
To be honest, I would be here for a Sam Mendes iteration of Pinocchio.
But see, here's the thing. Sam Mendes had just finished Spectre, that James Bond film, and he was done with studio projects. Like, Disney went up to him and be like, look, hey, listen, we have so many Disney remakes in the can. We think you'd be perfect. Because he was making the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory musical.
Yeah.
And they're like, we think you'd be perfect for Pinocchio. I mean, come on. Wooden puppet. You just directed James Bond. You're making this Willy Wonka show. Come on. It's all for you. What do you say? Huh? And he's like, no,
absolutely not.
Well, and kudos to him for like sticking to his theater guns, because he's done a lot of theater stuff, and man's genius.
Yeah,
Sam Mendes.
I freaking love Sam Mendes, and I understand that he would rather do like small indie films and passion projects. Like, that makes sense. And Pinocchio, admittedly, especially Disney Pinocchio, it's a little hard to make your own unique stamp
because it's a remake.
But it's also a very classic film that if you stray too far from, fans would riot. If you stray like too close to it, fans would riot. So like it's a hard, like, can you win either scenario kind of thing? And that answer, I think, we'll get into later.
Yeah, and you can really feel that sometimes during the screenplay, there's a little bit of, like, some of it was Robert Zemeckis taking over, and then Chris Weitz was like, I've been writing this script since way back when Sam Mendes was supposed to direct this film. Fuck you. Yep. So there were some clashes there, but, that happens when you have a director that is directing his own script.
Oh, 100%.
But
always.
I feel like it didn't hurt the film that much, but we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we also have to point out, the animation, the story wouldn't be a thing if it weren't for the original creator and the original story, which is by Carlo Collodi, with The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Way back in 1883.
Yeah, this is in an era where we talk about, public domain and whatnot. This story has been in public domain for a very, very long time.
Sure.
So even when Disney originally did it, it was in the public domain. So this by no means is a story that is owned by Disney, but is very much still part of the lifeblood of the company.
Sure.
So
I mean, we see Pinocchio all the time meeting guests.
Yep, so. He's in a Festival of Fantasy and the parade. When You Wish Upon a Star is literally like how we were saying, like, Disney lifeblood theme song.
Right.
So like this story and this iteration of the story is very much baked in to the legacy of the company. Sure. So very interesting to bring it to not only remake it but bring it to Disney Plus. So
yeah, this is a Disney Plus original if you weren't aware.
Yep. So it's going to be an interesting thing that we're getting into. But for those that don't know the story, it's about a puppet who is brought to life by a fairy who assigns him to lead
a virtuous life in order to become a real boy.
Correct. Thank you, Mitch, for helping me out.
And thank you for IMDb.
Yes, thank you, IMDb. So since I'm a little tongue-tied right now, Mitch, could you go ahead and break down exactly how we do our episodes?
Well, I sure can. So, the way that we split up the episode is obviously we have our introduction, which you just heard, or at least I think you heard.
Yep.
And then we do our non-spoiler section. Well, I will give my thoughts. Zach will give his. We will talk about the cast and other non-spoilerly things. Now I'm tongue-tied.
Now you're tongue-tied. It's okay. Don't worry. We got you.
Then after that, if you're still here, we will give our review. Yep. And the way we split up our review, we have 3 categories. Technically, we have 5, but we don't talk about 4 and 5.
We don't talk about Bruno, and we don't talk about categories 1 and 5.
And we also don't talk about Cars 2.
Yep.
So we have the Feed It to the Dog, meaning you can still see the movie, form your own opinion, but in our opinion, we think this movie is not even worthy of us eating up the film. So we would give it to the dog Jazz, meaning the movie is bad.
We love you, puppy. I'm sorry. But I feed you good things, I promise.
But we also have movie needs to cook a little more, meaning could have benefited more with a director change, a script change, a screenwriter change, an actor change,
just
anything,
a little
seasoning, or
to get us up to the next
category. or a little paprika or something like that.
Yeah, just a little bit more to get us up to that.
Or maybe just like a little. You know how some meals they're not too good unless they have something like fine wine.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that getting a little pairing in there. Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have our Eat It Up, meaning we love this film. We definitely recommend it. You definitely should watch it on Disney Plus.
Or in the theater, if it's available.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you watch your movies.
And then Zach will sound a nice loud alarm.
Yep. Mitch loves that alarm.
And we will talk about our spoiler section.
He loves it so
much.
much.
Then we will end it, and we will either work on another episode, or I will go home, go to bed, and we might see each other the next day at work.
We're gonna have fun either way.
We will.
Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to get into our non-spoiler section.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to have you continue talking, Mitch, but you know you've done such a wonderful job laying out our three categories and our layout of our episode.
Mm-hmm.
Could you go ahead and give me your first reactions on what you thought of Pinocchio Disney 2022?
So, like I said, I really didn't see the original Pinocchio until Disney Plus launched, and I just fell in love with that film.
That's fair.
And I loved it. Yeah. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm like, man, I can see why Disney back in the day, Walt Disney considers Pinocchio one of the finest films he's ever made.
Yep.
Even though I know he was really disappointed because it tanked.
Yep.
Because of World War II.
Yep.
Fucking Nazis.
Nazis ruining everything. Pretty
much.
But no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, but we can always blame the Nazis.
Anyway, but yeah, I just like you said. When You Wish Upon a Star, Jiminy Cricket, The Conscience. I mean, you have Jiminy Cricket.
I just got my Jiminy Cricket shoulder pet, and I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
I've been waiting for that shoulder pet for literally years.
Here you go.
Thank you. I love him.
Yeah, I just gave him his thingy. Yeah, he's great. But then I heard that they were remaking this film. And it was announced that they were remaking the film right around Cinderella. I think that's announced. It wasn't greenlit, but it was announced.
Possibly, yeah. I can't remember exactly that timeline. It definitely was in that realm. I think it was a little bit after Cinderella.
Mm-hmm. It might have been 2016, I think.
Yeah, like a little bit after Cinderella did like Modestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it made a lot.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, I love
Cinderella. I thought that was a really really well done live action interpretation.
And then I started noticing all the director options that they had, like Sam Mendes. Then Paul King was announced to direct.
Yeah,
like he had signed the deal. He was ready.
Yeah,
and then Tom Hanks as Geppetto, because he was. They've been wanting Tom Hanks since Sam Mendes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then Paul King came and they met. They started writing the script. They were ready, and then Paul King decided to leave for family issues, and then Tom Hanks left, but
Tom Hanks left.
He was supposed to leave,
Oh.
but like right before, he's like, "Hey, I know Robert Zemeckis,
My buddy.
my buddy Rob, or Bobby Zemecki." That's his nickname now, Bobby Zemecki.
Let me get Bobby over here. Let me talk to Bobby.
Well, they've worked together so many times.
Oh, so much.
So
much.
And then here comes, because at that time Disney was thinking, should we put it on Disney Plus? Should we make it should we put it in theaters? Because Dumbo had bombed, Maleficent 2 had bombed, but Lion King and Aladdin were making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think Tom Hanks went up to Robert Zemeckis and was like, "Hey, so Disney has this Pinocchio film. Here's the script. I have it. I think you can make some tweaks. There's a chance it could be released in theaters." Tom Hanks doesn't like streaming. I know that for a fact.
Yep.
But I think he also warned Robert Zemeckis but I am willing to make this film with you, even if it goes to streaming. Mm-hmm. And Robert Zemeckis came, and I was immediately like, let's fucking go. Because I love, say what you want about Robert Zemeckis and his latest films.
Sure.
The man's very artistically driven.
Oh, 100%.
Great.
His movies have still transcended so many things.
Yes.
Even before his whole CGI kick.
Sure.
And even some of his CGI work I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Beowulf I thought was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I like its adaptation.
Sure.
I freaking love Polar Express.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Carol I think is
underrated in my opinion.
I think is it the best Christmas Carol interpretation? No, but
The Muppets Christmas Carol for me.
Scrooge for me, the musical Scrooge. I like that one as the best.
And we don't talk about Scrooged with Bill Murray.
But no, we don't talk about that one. But
Richard Donner.
Robert Zemeckis still has some really wonderful work underneath him besides his CGI work.
Now, having said that,
well, because you got like Castaways and stuff, but like,
sure.
But moving on for that, like, still some great work. Yeah. So as you were saying,
as I was having a nice resort stay at Coronado Springs,
good resort.
I was in the tower.
Yep,
and I had just turned it on after watching She-Hulk. The latest, and I literally, as soon as the film started, I had the biggest smile on my face, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm only 5 minutes in, and I have the biggest smile on my face because the film is just so captivating. And I looked at reviews. I'm one of those people, and this movie is getting bombed by these critics. But I'm just thinking, why? Because I'm enjoying the shit out of this movie. Mm-hmm. Now, I will get into this when we get further, but there are some flaws.
Yeah.
But I had such a fun time watching this film.
Well, and...
Such a fun time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Zach.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I just had such a fun time watching this movie. I want to talk about it more, but it's your turn.
Yeah, for sure. Don't worry. We'll get to more of your stuff, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Start talking.
Okay. So
faster.
I was going to talk about this film, and I was actually going to watch it a lot earlier, but here's the thing. I was actually really, really busy with a whole lot of health stuff, so
Slow down. Faster?
Okay.
Slow down.
So I really did have a whole lot of things going on. So me and Mitch were going to watch it on Thursday separately. He was going to be at Coronado. I was going to go ahead and watch it in my own home. And then I just basically took a nap. And I did not wake up for like a solid, that was a solid nap.
Don't you love those?
Oh, I love those. I felt so refreshed after it. I'm not going to lie. But it was like a 10 hour, 13 hour nap. I was out. And so I was like, shoot, we're watching another movie this afternoon, and we're planning to record. And I was like, crud, I have no time to watch it. I have no time to watch it. So me and Mitch met up for another movie that we're going to be reviewing a little bit later. And I was like, Mitch, I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep. and not during the movie. Like, I just fell asleep before.
You didn't tell me that. You told me, you son of a bitch. You lied to me.
But I was like,
how dare you? Your nose is growing.
It is growing. But it's fine. But I was like, dude, I unfortunately did not watch it. I do want to watch it.
I do remember you saying that.
I do want to watch it, but I unfortunately didn't watch it. We're going to watch this movie that we are about to watch, and then can we delay our recording till tomorrow so that I can watch it? So that I can watch it and we can review it. And he was like, yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm a nice guy.
Because you're an amazing guy. And
I'm single.
Yeah, he is single. Ladies, scoop him up, man.
Scoop him up, man.
Scoop him up. But
who needs Tinder when you can have a podcast?
There you go. So I saw a couple of reviews numerically wise. I didn't actually read it. I was seeing that was being reviewed by, but you said that you actually very much enjoyed it.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, okay, solid. So I went into this with knowing two sides, two different ideas. And I was like, oh, actually take that back. This is actually pretty magical. I
think that was the word I was trying to search for too.
It's, and again, I am a Disney cast member.
I'm also a Disney cast member. Yeah.
So am I maybe a bit biased? Mm-hmm. Sure. I would be lying if I said I wasn't, but there's something just so quintessential Disney about the original, and it freaking works again in this one. Mm-hmm. That being said, again, as Mitch kind of alluded to, there are some flaws in here, but there's also some really wonderful moments that were not in the original that were brought to this film. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was Chris Weiss or Robert Zemeckis that did it.
Oh, it's Chris Weiss. I thought it was Chris Weiss. Sorry.
I don't know who it was that brought it to it, but whoever did, props to you, dude, because there were some really wonderful moments baked into this movie that weren't in the original that were fantastic. Mm-hmm. And dare I say magical. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to talk about this, and I can't wait to move on. So let's start. Go ahead and talk about this cast.
Mm-hmm. With, obviously, we got to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Hanks as Geppetto.
This casting alone sold me on this movie.
Same.
Because I feel like Tom Hanks just rings like elderly father energy.
Well, if you think about it, he's never really played that father. He's played a similar father figure.
He's played father figures in his past.
But not the actual, father.
Yeah.
But I just have to say this now. I enjoyed him more in this film than I did in the Elvis film.
Oh, 100%.
I'm going to catch a lot of flack.
100%.
I know he's getting, everyone's saying, oh, it's so hammy. He's overdoing blah, blah, blah. I loved him in this film. He was glorious. He had such a fun time. Every time he's talking about, having interviews about Pinocchio, he loved his entire time while making this film.
I cared for this dude.
I did too.
Geppetto is he's so heartwarming in this film. I love him in this film. He genuinely does such a wonderful job in the moment to moment. It genuinely feels like the puppet is with him when he's there.
Yeah.
Every single time I feel like, he really feels like this is his son.
So
and I adore every single acting moment and every single time that he's on screen.
So I will also say I never thought I would get a perfect animation to live action of a certain character until this film. He added something new to Geppetto, but when I was watching him, I'm like, that is literally the animated Geppetto that we watched. I can't describe it. He even had the similar kind of fat nose a little bit.
Sure.
And he had very dopey moments too. Sure. Because there's that theory that Geppetto's just an older Dopey.
Really? I did not know
You
about
didn't
that
know
theory.
that? Yeah, that is a theory.
I can kind of see it though with the ears. The ears are very.
Oh,
very
and
much
his ears were bigger in this a little bit. Yeah.
And here's the thing, I guess. Well, because here's the other thing too. Looking back at the original animated, I could totally see them reusing some of Dopey's cells to.
Well, I think the same artist that did Dopey did Geppetto.
Okay, that would make sense. But also, Disney is notorious back. We're talking about actual like Walt Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Walt Disney himself is very notorious for reusing animation cells and just covering them with
cheaper.
a new. Correct. You spent that time in working on that, and if you look in like older films, like compared to like Robin Hood and Jungle Book, and now that I'm thinking about Winnie the Pooh, a lot of them use cells that were used before in other movies and whatnot, and they just literally give it a new coat of paint, and then it's a new cell. But the movement, the bone structure, and everything is usually the same. Looking back on it now, Geppetto and Dopey definitely have similar mannerisms for the animation. So yeah, I could totally see that. But yes, total win for Tom Hanks in being Geppetto.
Oh yeah,
very wonderfully done.
Now we're talking about Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket!
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So, can I take the lead on this one? Yeah? Okay. Thank you, my friend. So, here's the thing. I feel like Jiminy Cricket is, again, one of the embodiments of Disney magic.
I agree.
Having your conscience on your shoulder, like, it...
And always let your conscience be your guide. But we can't sing anymore, because copyright.
Yep, but like as well, When You Wish Upon a Star, like he's the one that introduces it. It introduces the film. Like
he's the narrator.
He's the narrator. It's huge. At the start of this film, I'm not gonna lie, kind of hated him.
I did too.
He grew on me as the film went, but he didn't surpass the original.
Not even close.
He like when you compare apples to oranges, the original wins every time. In fact, I'm blanking on the actor's name who did the original.
Cliff Edwards. It's Cliff Edwards.
Oh, it is Cliff Edwards. Yeah. You're right.
I'm like, it's Cliff Edwards.
Thank you. But like genuinely, Cliff Edwards just did laps around Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I'm not saying that I don't like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as an actor. I think he's really good. I also usually enjoy his singing voice. I think he actually has a pretty good singing voice. But Jiminy Cricket is a lot higher than Joseph Gordon-Levitt is comfortable singing, and you can tell because like he gets really pitchy in pretty much the like only one song that he sings, and he tries to do a Cliff Edwards basically impersonation.
Yeah, that's really all I can describe it as.
Which I feel like it's one of those things of like, yeah, I feel like I want Jiminy to have that kind of Cliff Edwards sound that because it's so iconic.
Sure.
But it felt like a cheap knockoff.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I really didn't. Like, I knew right away when I found out that he was cast as Jiminy Cricket, I was immediately just like, nope, not for me. I feel like they could have found somebody a lot younger, because Jiminy Cricket, even though he has this like old-fashioned type of vibe to him, I feel like he's not as old as some people say he is.
No, I disagree with you there. I think because the entire point of Jiminy Cricket is like he's lived his life. He knows like what should be going on. Yeah, he's just on troubled times. So I feel like that's the reason why he's the conscience, is because he knows life. He knows right from wrong. He's wise.
I feel like he's wise, but in the terms of he's lived through a lot, but in such a short amount of time.
Correct. It's like the idea of like dog years. Like, is he young in numerical human years?
I think that, yes. Okay, so now that makes sense, yeah.
But in terms of him actually, of like the things that he's gone through, like he's, like, I feel like if I say a cricket lived
10 years.
10 years, that's old for a cricket. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I were to say a cricket lived 2 years, that's old for a cricket. Mm-hmm. So, like, I feel like he's not in his twilight years. I'm not saying, like, he's, like, Carl Fredricksen from Up. But, like, the dude's, like, in terms of, like, if I were to put, like, an age, I feel like Jiminy Cricket is a solid at least 60.
Okay.
A solid 60 years old.
Yeah, I didn't like him near as much as I probably should have in this film. Okay. Because I'm with you. I love Jiminy Cricket. He's literally almost a near Disney mascot.
Yeah.
Behind Mickey Mouse,
and
Donald,
Tinkerbell.
and Tinkerbell. Yep. And I know there was a time where Dopey was going to be the mascot for a time. Mm-hmm. But Jiminy Cricket is right behind those characters.
Yeah.
And now after watching this, I'm just like, he's literally he was not that.
No, to me, again, I feel like he grew on me throughout the film, but they also, I'm not gonna lie, did not use Jiminy as much as I thought they were going to,
or in my opinion, as much as they should have.
Correct, but again, we're stepping on spoiler territory there, so we'll kind of get into that a little bit later.
But who's next?
But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next person, which, like, we have to talk about him. He's the titular character, Pinocchio.
Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. Bravo to this young kid.
I'm not gonna lie, or you know what? I went first for the last one. You can go ahead first.
I love this kid. Mm-hmm. He was glorious. I mean, so the original Pinocchio back in 1940 was voiced by Dickie Jones.
You're right,
and he had a very deeper voice compared to, especially when he was doing a lot of his singing. Compared to this kid.
I disagree with you on this one.
Well, I don't care.
That's okay.
This is my time.
That is your time. Go ahead, keep on talking.
I feel like Dickie Jones sounded a little bit older compared to this version.
Okay.
This version of Pinocchio he reminded me of a 4-year-old, whereas the Pinocchio in the animated one reminded me of an 8, 9, maybe 10.
Okay.
Whereas this 4, 5. Maybe 6.
Sure.
He had this naivety about him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He had this. I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm literally freshly made, and I don't know anything, but I know. And one thing that this kid literally drilled in to every single scene. Every purpose that Pinocchio did in this film was to please Geppetto.
Yeah.
And that's all thanks to Benjamin for honing that purpose for everything. He wanted to make Geppetto proud. And what young boy doesn't want to make their dad proud?
100%.
And bravo, he did such a wonderful job. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I keep talking about, we're going to hit spoiler territory, but wow, such a beautiful performance from somebody of a young age. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's young.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of those that if he stays along this career path, he could be a Tom Holland.
Yeah, possibly.
He could.
Yeah.
Zach?
I feel like you hit a lot of it on the nail of the coffin. Like you hit it on the head. However, I do disagree. To be honest, I flat out was like, dude sounds almost exact. Like,
I didn't think he was exact.
To me, oh my god, I felt like they could have pulled. I feel like you could pull "I Got No Strings" like side by side, and I would not be able to tell the difference between the two.
I could have
100%. I could not.
I got no strings.
Like, and you were close. You did. You got it. You were close. But don't worry. Like. Genuinely,
Ultron?
That's a different one, but but genuinely, this kid did such a phenomenal job. The naivete, like how you said, was on point of Pinocchio. You felt like every single decision this kid made, you were like, dang, you could go either way. And like you were understanding why Pinocchio was seduced in multiple different ways. You really felt it. And when he started, you could really see when he was kind of like coming into his own and trying to trust himself or believe what he thought, or like you really understood and you saw that story really well done in the vocal performance. So phenomenal job done by him.
Now we are here to talk. Well, as I live and breathe, the Blue Fairy.
Oh God,
Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo. Oh my God. Yes.
She was good.
Can I take it?
No.
Okay.
She was good. She was really, really good. But okay, Zach, your turn.
Yes, Cynthia Erivo. Yes. Oh my God, this is so great. I freaking love this woman so much. When I saw that she was going to be the Blue Fairy, I was like, yes, bring it all. And then when the first trailer showed her and we were getting like our first views of the screen, I was like, that's the Blue Fairy. And then she freaking flies onto our screens. For a second,
and she sings the song.
For a second, I was a little worried because the first instance of that scene, I was like, oh no. I don't know if I like this. But then as she comes on and she like graces our presence. As we grace her presence. Because, oh my God, one scene is all she needs. She does so phenomenal. She absolutely... Her vocals are perfect. Her acting choices are brilliant. The look is genius. I freaking adore her as the Blue Fairy. She supersedes the original. She adds so much character to it. I freaking love her.
Yeah,
so much.
I will agree. Especially when she started singing.
Effortless.
I mean, literally.
Effortless.
And like I said, I was literally like in the process because I told you I had a smile on my face literally the entire time. And literally I'm just like, I love it. It's great. I'm about to cry. I'm about to sob in my resort hotel room right now.
Literally, y'all, if you can, if you have the time, go on YouTube and just look up Cynthia Erivo, The Color Purple.
Yeah.
And you will be like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And that is the reason why I was so hyped for this interpretation of the Blue Fairy. And oh my God.
Yeah.
If you do anything, if you're like, okay, I don't want to see Pinocchio. It's not my thing.
That's fine.
Just go for like the first
15,
20 minutes. Once she's gone, fine. Go ahead and turn off this Disney Plus, but just wait for her.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. This movie was great to me, but
she was perfect.
That right there is what you need to see.
Right.
Is her performance as the Blue Fairy.
I think something else that you need to see is Keegan-Michael Key as Honest John.
The Honest John is that's a personal key to my heart.
Okay.
But I'll let you go ahead and go first.
He was so funny in this.
I loved him.
I mean, even though he wasn't like a motion capture, he was mostly voice.
Yeah.
But the whole time, I'm like, this is literally a spitting image of the Honest John from back in 1940. I'm like, Keegan-Michael Key, you are terrifying as Honest John, but I love it. You are literally the most charming fox in the history of Fox in films. Yep. And you are doing it flawlessly just by speaking into a microphone.
Literally. And the thing is, every single little thing that Honest John / Jay Worthington Foulfellow, he's got two names. They stick to Honest John in this one.
With Gideon.
Yep. We love Gideon.
Yep.
We love Gideon.
Yep.
But
because that's all he does is hiccup.
It's pretty much, yep. And have animated comedically long mallets. That's what he's famous for. But we love Gideon. We stand Gideon. We also stand specifically Honest John. Reason why he's specifically a key to my heart is because I was very close friends with Honest John when I was a character performer. So he is a very wonderful character to hang around and have fun with. But Keegan-Michael Key, you could tell he was just having a ball.
Oh yeah.
His singing. So I'm on the fence with Keegan-Michael Key singing. I think he's an okay singer.
Sure.
Is he the best? No. Is he the worst? Absolutely not.
No.
But he did such a wonderful job with hi diddly dee, an actor's life for me. It's fine. We're fine. Don't worry. We don't get paid for this.
We don't.
We don't. But it
was a scene stealer.
He was a scene stealer, and I feel like they were during like him doing his like songs and like lines. They were like, "Can you go a little faster?" And he's like, "Oh, I can go so much faster."
Yeah.
and
the original was kind of, it was very upbeat, but it wasn't quick.
It was bouncy.
It was bouncy. Whereas this, it was like full throttle.
He's like, "Oh, I can do this faster, and I can make this spitting and sound so suave," and he nails it. So
it had a feeling of kind of hip hop a little bit
maybe, but like it was subtly suave and so double cheek.
Yeah.
It was so wonderful. I freaking loved him as it.
I did too. It was great. One little quick side character, Lorraine Bracco.
I always forget about her. I'm not gonna lie.
As Sophia the Seagull.
She was great for the role that she played.
She was fine.
Like again, like I keep on forgetting about her, but she served her purpose. She did a good job with the time that she had. Was she a scene stealer? No. But she did what she had to do, and it was.
But we can't really discuss it that much.
She's a great seagull.
The next two characters we also can't talk about that much.
Yeah.
We'll discuss their performances real quickly.
Yeah, but we can. I feel like we can talk about Kimi Lema's
as Fabiana, the actress.
Fabiana. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. I thought her performance was very special.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Like, arguably, like Pinocchio is great. I love the character of Pinocchio. I always like. I feel like every single time we do a podcast, I award like the heart of the film to. I would give it to her. She
I agree.
Does such a really wonderful job with her character. Every single time she showed up on screen, it put a smile to my face. I loved her. She also, might I add, I guess it would border on spoiler territory, but there's good representation in her character.
Oh yes.
And they have such a positive outlook on it that I really enjoyed. I thought that was a really nice note. Wasn't forced, but really was really really wonderfully represented.
Another real quick thing. Chiquita Tali Sabina?
Sabina.
As Sabina the puppet.
Puppet,
Chiquita Tail as Sabina the puppet. We apologize for butchering your name.
Again, we are so sorry. But again, I'm kind of surprised by this one a bit.
I was too.
Because I thought another actress actually did the voice of this puppet.
But you were dead wrong.
But I was dead wrong. However, it was really... I thought it was okay.
I feel like if you thought Fabiana was the heart, Pinocchio was its soul, Geppetto was the mind, I feel like Sabina was like the lungs.
Sure.
Yeah, if that makes any sense.
Okay. But yeah, like it was like, aw. Like every single time. It was cute. Every single time that Sabina just came out screen, I was like, aw.
Yeah, that's literally mine. I'm like, aw, cute.
So, like, really, it was an interesting character. Again, we really can't, like, tread on it a whole bunch. Because it really does border on the line of spoiler. Yep. Like, I feel like it's either like, yeah, it's a spoiler, or no, it's not really a spoiler, but it kind of rides that line a bit.
So I'm going to take this one because mine's going to be short, sweet, to the point.
Okay.
Luke Evans as the coachman, pointless, literally pointless in my opinion.
I disagree on this one.
No, I'm going to say this right now. This was literally just a random name grab, and because he was Gaston. In
I agree on that one. I do agree.
I feel like it was a waste of his talents. I'm gonna call it was to me. I did not like him at all in this film. I didn't like it.
I thought he was decent. He
did the best he could.
He did the best he could. the thing is that, and we'll kind of get more into it in spoilers, he kind of fills a role that is kind of left a little gaping by another character. Mm-hmm. And I like that they tried to make it a manifestation of something. Mm-hmm. And again, we'll go into it more. But later. I thought his singing was good.
Of course it was.
His singing was good. His acting when he was there was okay. But again, it's this part was, I will admit, a bit more questionable.
Yeah, it was.
And it kind of just echoes back to, I feel like, the original with like, it's the adventures of Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. So this is one of his adventures, more so than it was with the original one, where it was a little bit more interconnected. Mm-hmm. I feel
straightforward, maybe.
Not so much straightforward, just more interconnected. There were more players at play.
No, that's starting to make sense.
Where this was more of an original character, or maybe from the source material that just wasn't really in the original. Mm-hmm. So again, we'll talk about him when we get to that section of the spoilers. But as a performance and as a character, he was, as a performance, fine. As a character, he was okay.
Yes. One last character, and then we'll talk some about other things.
Speaking of tragedies,
Giuseppe Battiston.
No, you're right. It's
Giuseppe Battiston as Stromboli. The main baddie from the original one.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like if I was an actor and I was told, like, you're offered Stromboli, this would be a role that I would immediately accept without even looking at the script. And then I would get the script and I would be like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Because
I feel like in terms of the character he was given, the actor actually did pretty decently.
Oh, absolutely. I will agree with that.
I'm unfamiliar with the actor, if I'm honest. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the character, not gonna lie, a bit of a letdown.
I was very disappointed. Because the animated one, he was mean.
He was mean, overarching, and also, not gonna lie, he terrifying, but also had a bit more to do in the original animated film.
Yes.
He's not, like, Stromboli's there. Like, I'm not gonna say he ain't. Mm-hmm. He plays a part, and a very decent sized part at that.
Sure.
But he's there, and then he's gone.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing.
So, like, I feel like that does border on the line of spoiler. I'm not gonna lie,
it is.
But I do want to also set up your expectation for that, because again, this is an adaptation of an adaptation. So,
yeah.
But I want to also set your expectations. Mm-hmm. So, if you're going in expecting the original Stromboli, you're gonna be disappointed, probably. Mm-hmm. But I guess we can really just leave it at that, and we'll kind of go into it a little farther.
Mm-hmm. All right. So next, we're going to talk about a few quick things.
Yep. Before we get into our review, just a few more non-spoiler things.
The aesthetic Zach wanted to mention.
Yeah. So I feel like these Disney remakes kind of border between a couple of different things. You have Cinderella, which I feel like does a really wonderfully, like, it's the same story, but a really wonderfully new, like, costumes, new look. Like, it does a really wonderful job of adding, like, newer elements to it.
Maleficent did a nice job with that, too.
And Maleficent did a really nice job with that, too.
The first Alice in Wonderland?
First Alice in Wonderland, yes. But then you have ones that are, like, Jungle Book and Lion King. Which are, like, almost shot for shots. Mm-hmm. Especially Lion King, which is literally a shot for shot.
Dumbo was pretty close to it too.
Not really. Dumbo wasn't. Dumbo focused a lot more on the elephant.
Yeah, okay.
And Dumbo was not a shot for shot. Dumbo was almost a completely different film that happened to have an elephant named Dumbo.
I'll have to rewatch that then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta rewatch. You should rewatch Dumbo, the original animated, and then watch Tim Burton's Dumbo and go,
But now that I remember, yeah, you're probably right. I think that was...
There was no mouse. Timothy the Mouse was gone.
Yeah, well, he was in it a little bit.
He made a cameo.
Yeah, he did make a cameo.
But he didn't.
But it has Danny DeVito.
It does. But I swear to God, the reason why Tim Burton did Dumbo, I guarantee, is because he wanted a joke. He wanted one frickin' joke, and that was, let's get ready for Dumbo! From the WWE guy, and that was it.
Well, he also wanted to work with Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito again, but he wanted to switch. Danny DeVito be like the hero, and Michael Keaton be the bad guy.
Yep.
But, yeah, so I will say this.
So, wait, but hold on. I do want to make my point on the aesthetic really quick.
Fine.
I'm sorry.
Hustle up, man.
I know, but so anyway, so we have these two different dichotomies here. This one I feel like almost lands in the middle, but in terms of like look and style, like the actual aesthetic of it, it lands more in the shot for shot.
Yes.
Where it doesn't really take a whole lot of leaps or bounds in terms of look. It very much knows the iconography of the original and how the look of the original is kind of what makes the Disney film iconic. So Jiminy Cricket looks a little weird, but still harkens back kind of a little bit more to his original.
This clothing is almost spot on.
Pinocchio is flat out ripped out of the original.
Geppetto was too.
Geppetto was too. Blue Fairy, they took a little bit. They took a lot more of a new take on it, which I loved.
Another character was definitely not a rip-off, but we'll talk about that character later.
Yep.
Stromboli, I feel like wasn't even close to the original.
I feel like he kind of was. It was kind of
I didn't really see.
Foulfellow and Gideon were pretty much ripped out. I feel like,
but that's one thing I enjoyed about it.
Yeah, but again, like overall aesthetic, I feel like they more so stick to the iconography of the original animated. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I will agree. So when I finished this film. So when I got out of Lion King, I literally just watched the same exact Lion King film.
Yep.
From 1993.
With less expression.
Pretty much.
Yep.
But after watching this, I feel like I was like... So, I feel like I watched the original, but with a broader, different way of expressing itself.
Sure.
So, yes, Pinocchio looked carbon copy.
Carbon copy, which I'm okay with.
Honestly. I was too. Jiminy Cricket, clothes were the same, but he looked weird.
He looks a little weird.
And he actually made cricket sounds.
He did. Well, the original one did have cricket sounds, but I feel like this one had a lot more cricket sounds.
Geppetto was literally taken from the film, as I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
But needless to say, I feel like I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed what Lion King did. Because with Lion King was
like a very expensive tech demo.
That's exactly what I was trying. And we all...
Now, don't get me wrong. I love Jon Favreau, and I actually like the original. I like the Jungle Book one that he did.
Oh, I love Jungle Book.
I thought Jungle Book was really, really awesome. Mm-hmm. Just Lion King, I felt like he was like, this is what we can do. And I was like, so did you have to, though?
So I think this is what happened. Johnny Favreau made Jungle Book.
Yep.
He also wanted to do other projects. Like he wanted to make a film about Magic Kingdom. He also wanted to make a second Jungle Book, which that I don't think that movie's going to get made ever again.
Probably not.
He's been working because now he wants to do Star Wars. But then after Jungle Book, he's like, hey, can we make this Mandalorian show? And Disney came up to him like, oh, you can do this, but we want you to do something else.
Oh, uh-huh.
And he's like, really? What? We want you to do another remake. Really? Like, what is it? Is it blah, blah, this, blah, that? And then they're like,
it's Lion King.
I bet you $1 million when he was asked that. Like, why? It's like 20 years old. Like, what's the point?
Perfect.
And it's perfect. But Disney was like, money.
He's like, they're like, you literally did it with Jungle Book. Just repeat the process.
Well, and I also think Disney wanted more films to add to Disney Plus because they knew that Disney Plus was Disney Plus was coming.
Yeah.
But they just wanted it. They wanted Lion King to be one of the films to be put on there to add more subscribers. That's the only reason why Lion King was made, in my opinion. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Speaking of CGI.
Oh yeah, speaking of CGI.
So I gotta say, I was impressed with the CGI because this has better CGI than most streaming originals and TV shows.
Yeah, I
in
agree.
my humble opinion.
With the I will give with the exception of Jiminy Cricket. There
God's
were
sake, yeah.
there were times where I was like, that was looking a little rough.
Yeah.
Gideon also sometimes kind of looked a little too cartoony.
Well,
a little out of the world.
There were some hiccups with Honest John and his mouth movements, but he was
honestly,
a wolf. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there were also sometimes where like I felt like his mouth movements were really good. Like
I
his
agree.
snarl.
Yes,
The
I know exactly what you're talking
CGI
about, yeah.
artist did a really good job with Honest John's snarl. That was really well done. I guess it's not really a spoiler. Monstro's in this.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Who knew? Who would have guessed?
That's almost like Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Oh my god.
I know.
But we'll get a little bit more into Monstro when we get to our spoiler section. But
I was very impressed with Monstro's look, which we'll talk about later.
Part of it I was.
Part of it?
Part of it I was impressed with it.
Really?
There's another part that I wasn't so
Okay,
impressed with.
we'll
But
talk about that
We'll
later.
talk about that later. But overall, I feel like the CGI overall had wins. The puppet, I feel like Pinocchio was really, really good.
Pinocchio was perfect.
There were times, though, where I was like, you could have used a real puppet here, but you didn't. And poo-poo to you. Because, like, I feel like a little spoilery at the beginning where, like, he doesn't have his, like, life force, quote-unquote,
he's just
yet.
there.
Where he's just there. You could have used a real puppet.
Oh, they should have used a real puppet, in my opinion.
And there's multiple times where you will see in Tom Hanks' performance where you were like, well, I did say at the beginning of my review, you could feel like Pinocchio like was there to Geppetto. There were some times where I was like, hey, he's not in the room.
Well, same thing with Figaro and Cleo too.
Yeah, I agree.
You
Figaro and Cleo, you kind of they were okay. I like Cleo's animation style.
I did too.
I thought it was almost again another carbon copy of the original.
Same as Figaro.
And Figaro I was a little worried about because Figaro was a little harder to do. I feel like a fish doing an animated fish. If
Sure.
you're doing it like Pinocchio, then fine, you can carbon copy that. Doing Figaro would look a little weird if you carbon copied that animation, so I was a little worried about Figaro. But Figaro actually kind of played off a little bit better.
You could tell when Geppetto was holding Figaro. You could tell he's like pretending to pet air.
Yep.
But I'm like, it's close.
It's close. There's one, like, if I had to compare two ones, if I had to compare Aladdin's Abu to Figaro and Pinocchio, I would give the upper hand to Abu.
I
feel like that CGI was done a little bit better than Figaro. But Figaro, I would give like a B or a C.
I would give it
pass.
a B minus.
It's a pass.
Yeah.
B minus is a good
B
one.
minus.
It's a pass.
Your grade is worthy of being posted on the refrigerator.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so
like you did it. Congrats.
Yeah. You didn't get a C. I know like C's get degrees, but hey, B's are like straight towards 3.0s, okay? And 3.0s get you that scholarship if you're in high school. So we talked about CGI. Two more quick things.
The music.
I love the music.
So, okay, here's the thing. I really do love when the actors got to sing.
I did too.
I felt a little... I know Tom Hanks can sing, but I also know he's getting up in age. So, like, I'm like... His singing at the beginning was not the best, but here's the thing: I like spoken singing, especially as an actor. I really do like spoken singing. Not the Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Not that one was great. That one was fine. But when he's actually working on the puppet,
Yeah.
that one I was a little mixed on.
But when when Pinocchio finally came to life,
but like that one was good.
that was beautiful.
But in terms of like the music, if you get a lot of the classics, but you also miss some of the classics. We mentioned Jiminy Cricket's big song. That's unfortunately really not in there.
And I was really hoping to hear that song.
But
An Actor's Life for Me is in there.
An Actor's Life for Me is in there. I Got No Strings is in there.
Yeah, and that's a knockout too.
It's not the full song, not gonna lie, they do cut out
They cut out
a little bit of it, but it's pretty much there.
Yeah.
But that's a very wonderful scene.
That is that, in my opinion, I've Got No Strings. I mean, that is like applause.
Yeah.
Like if this movie was released in theaters, you would have gotten loud claps from.
You probably would have had some audible claps.
Yeah, because it was such a great scene and it was just performed beautifully. I'm like, oh, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, there, the Pleasure Island song's a little bit different in this one.
Yeah.
They add a Coachman song, which I was not the biggest fan of.
I didn't like it at all. I feel like the music for the setting of Pleasure Island was good.
Yeah, but like the song itself was a bit hollow.
No, song was bad. I'm just gonna say that.
But so they add songs and they take away songs. The songs they added, I feel there were more losses than wins.
One was good,
but a lot of them kind of struck out, and it just made me want the older songs more.
Yeah, it wasn't just like struck out on a 3-2 pitch. It was like strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. You're out of there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I will give credit to Alan Silvestri because he is such a very wonderful composer. He did have an uphill battle to face. Mm-hmm. And while he did strike out on a bunch of them, he did have like the occasional nugget.
Sure.
So I will give him that.
Sure.
Anything else you want to talk about music?
What? No.
Okay. So the next one is actually one that I really want to give props to Mitch on for sure because he brought this question up really, really well, and I think it's a good one for us to cap off our non-spoiler side on. Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and ask it to you specifically. Could it have worked in theaters? If you would have taken out the pandemic and they would have released it to theaters, do you think it would have done well in theaters? Do you think it would have read well in theaters? Do you think monetarily wise would it have done well? Like, how do you think if it were to release in theaters, do you think it would do better than it releasing on streaming?
I think without the pandemic, they would have gotten a bigger budget. Number one.
Okay.
I think they would have had a definite rewrite with some of the stuff.
Sure.
I also think they would have gotten a certain actor or two that was a little bit more expensive to play certain characters.
Maybe, sure.
So, but having said that, I'm gonna say it would have been a modest success in theaters. It wouldn't have made like gobs and gobs of money because it's Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to see Pinocchio.
Sure.
The original didn't make that money, but that's because of World War II.
Yeah.
I think this would have made a modest success. However, I do think that this film is going to get a decent number of viewers on Disney Plus. Is it going to add a bunch of subscribers? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is that keeps bugging me. I feel like this movie, even though I really loved it, I feel like it was rushed to the point where we need to get this out on Disney Plus Day.
Sure. Okay, I understand that.
But again, having said that, I think it still would have been a very modest success at the box office. Now, Zach, what do you think?
So, the experience of it in the theaters would have been magical.
I will agree.
Would have loved the experience
there have
itself.
Been cheers, yeah.
Would have been great. Mm-hmm. However, I think it would have flopped.
You think it would have flopped?
I think it would have flopped hard.
Okay.
Like, I think it would have struggled to make $125 million.
Really?
Would have struggled.
Just because of it being Pinocchio, or?
Partially. I think it... Because the other thing I'm also taking into consideration is how it got reviewed before it hit streaming. Mm-hmm. It did not perform well with critics. Now, that doesn't always mean that that's going to be... That won't mean numbers later. However... well,
that's why I said it may have had a rewrite, too. Yeah.
I mean, we only have to look at Venom for that. Critics hated Venom, but it sold really well. Mm-hmm. But... I feel like it would have bombed. I think it would have been lucky if it got even $125 million, which even at its Disney Plus budget, it would have lost money.
Sure.
They didn't market this movie all that well.
They didn't market it at all until really late.
So based off of that, I think people, and there were times where I was forgetting that this movie was existing, let alone that it was coming out as soon as it was. Mm-hmm. To me, this is a Christmas movie. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So I think it was also released at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. But that's why they want it on Disney Plus.
But I think it's a very good movie to put on Disney Plus because it's now this should have been, I'm not gonna lie, should have been released with Lady and the Tramp, which I think is an underrated live action remake. I love Lady and the Tramp. I think this actually fits in well with Lady and the Tramp. It's around the similar vibe. But it should have been one of the things to help entice people to Disney Plus initially. Get people into the Disney spirit initially. This should have been a release one. And again, it should have been a Christmas one. Because you're really, all your hardcore Disney nerds that would want to watch this are probably already subscribed to Disney Plus. So you probably won't be, I feel like you would probably get a couple, like how you said, but I don't think it's a really big drawer. So I feel like this one would hit the hardcore itch. And then I feel like that just, again, since it's a little bit more hardcore Disney, I don't think that would translate to the numbers. Because again, to use you as an example, you didn't watch the original Pinocchio until Disney Plus launched. So, while I did grow up with Disney and Pinocchio was one of the ones that I did see, I also didn't have a cult following to it. Yes, it's very in the blood of the company, but I still, and I respect it for it, but it wasn't one that I would 100% turn on like I would Robin Hood or Peter Pan, something like that. So, or Aladdin or any of the Renaissance films. So, I feel like it just doesn't translate like that enough.
That makes sense.
And again, don't get me wrong, I love the film. And I love the original Pinocchio. And I love this interpretation of Pinocchio. But if it were to be released into theaters, I think this borderline would have killed any live action moving forward.
That makes sense. So now we got all that out. It's review time. I ate it up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, no holding back. I ate it up too.
Yeah, I did too. And I was on the fence of like it needs to cook a little bit more, but.
And we'll kind of get into a lot more of those negatives, I feel like, in our spoilers.
But I felt it in my gut that I need to eat this movie up. And I ate it up.
I didn't really feel it in my gut. I just, it just, like, at the end of it, I was just happy with it.
Yeah.
I got what I wanted to out of it.
So did I.
And it surprised me in little ways that I wasn't expecting. Did it surprise me in big ways? No. I got what I wanted, and I wanted what I got. So yeah.
Sound the alarm.
Okay. I got no strings for this, right?
Nope.
Okay. Wah, spoiler alert.
It's time, folks. We have now entered spoiler territory. That means if you don't want to hear these, turn off that iPad, iPhone, laptop, whatever you're listening to.
And we thank you for coming, but we are officially in spoiler territory
But
now.
If you don't care or if you've seen the movie, please stay with us. Because right now, I want to talk about the fact that why did Geppetto make Pinocchio in the first place?
Which I thought this was a really wonderful addition to.
So Geppetto had a wife. Who in turn had a son. And the son grew to be decent age. Was it 8?
I would say like 8, 9, yeah.
But the mom died. They didn't really give too much
detail into
and
that.
so did the boy.
And we didn't get too much detail into that. But we saw a picture of the boy. We don't even get a name of the boy.
But the whole time he's building Pinocchio, he's looking at that picture for inspiration. So, funny quick story. When I saw that scene, so I have German ancestry.
Sure.
My grandmother made me dress up in a Pinocchio outfit when I was like 4 to get pictures. And I hated every second of it. And I literally, grandmother, you are in heaven right now, but I hate you for that. I hated
okay, I can get that trauma. I understand that trauma.
But it wasn't
I love that theme.
But it wasn't trauma, but I kind of understood why she had me do that because even though Pinocchio is more of an Italy film, it had some German
inspired.
Yeah, German qualities to it because his outfit was almost German.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is what I always love. So, like, if you ever come to the Magic Kingdom to Fantasyland, Pinocchio is definitely an Italian. It's an Italian
film
story.
Yeah.
It was literally an Italian wrote it. It was based in an Italian town, and you definitely see that in the setting of the film. Mm-hmm. But Disney added quite a bit of German influences into it.
Yep.
To the point where if you come to Fantasyland and you go to Pinocchio Village House, which serves Italian food, it's German architecture, German music. Like everything about it is German.
Except it has pizza.
Except it has pizza and salad.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't get it. The film didn't address it. And I was like, I kind of wanted that to be a little bit addressed, but it's fine that it didn't. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's a fairy tale. So, like, fairy tales have, their own, like, universe. So it's fine. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that was just kind of a little weird and funny.
But I really liked how and why Geppetto made Pinocchio in the first place. That was a really, really good addition to the story.
100%. I really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah. So Stromboli's role in this
is minimized to all hell.
It's gone. Literally gone. I mean, So Stromboli in the first one, like we mentioned, he was mean, he was terrifying, he was arrogant.
He was borderline the main antagonist of the entire film.
But in this one, he was just basically the fat guy to make fun of.
No!
To me, he was.
I disagree. He still played a very big antagonistic role, but not overarching like how it was in the original.
No.
He doesn't show up in Pleasure Island at all.
Well, he wasn't there in the original anyway.
Oh, he wasn't? I thought he was.
No.
Okay. But
I think you need to rewatch the original.
I do need to rewatch the original, I guess. But like you in the original, I do remember you see like him and Anashan / Foulfellow working together a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm. He worked with the Couchman a lot.
Yeah,
But in this one, he doesn't work with the Couchman at all.
It really just.
It stank.
And again, I don't feel like the performance itself was like completely bad. Like it wasn't a bad performance. Mm-hmm. It just that the script did nothing with him.
Yeah, I agree.
He just throws Pinocchio on. He like appears. He throws Pinocchio on stage. Then you have the scene where like, all right, we're leaving. Throws him in a cage.
Yeah.
And then he's like, ha ha ha, I am evil. And then you don't see him again. And I'm like,
pretty much, yeah.
I'm like, that was Stromboli. Like, y'all, like, this actively gave so many, Stromboli gave children nightmares, and that's before we got to the donkey shit. Like,
oh yeah, kids turned into donkeys again.
Yeah, it's not, I'm not gonna lie, I think the animated did it a little more graphic.
In this one?
This one, you see I feel like you see the transformation more in the original.
You do, yeah.
This one, you see more like you see the head, but then the rest of the transformation's shadows, and it's a lot.
Which a lot of the transformation in the original was shadows.
It was shadows too.
It was shadow. They took that originally from the original film because, and when Lampwick, and we're going to go talking to Pleasure Island, even though we have something else to talk about.
Yeah.
But so the look of Pleasure Island to me was almost.
Let's move on. Let's hold on Pleasure Island for a little bit.
Hey, you segued into it.
No, I did. You're right. I did.
Yeah. So don't you come after me.
So you're right. When we will talk about that later.
But we'll talk about something else real quick.
Let's talk about something else really quick. Let's go back on track a little bit. So we got Stromboli out of the way, and he was kind of abandoned. The ballerina and puppeteer we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I was about to say Sophia, which that's wrong.
Nope.
That's the sequel. She's, again, forgettable.
Fabiana,
the actress, puppets. So,
Sabina.
Sabina. She puppets Sabina. However, she doesn't voice Sabina.
She does a ventriloquist.
She's a ventriloquist, and there's another actress that does Sabina, which is fine. Okay, I was a little caught off guard by that one.
No, I enjoyed that.
And I enjoyed it too. And the ending kind of made it questionable. Like, is Sabina like alive a little bit?
I knew that never questioned. I was
like, I don't know if they're alluding to it or not. I was like, no, keep her as her own thing. Like, let her still be just a puppet. But her puppeteering it was a really nice way to connect with Pinocchio.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was basically a way for Pinocchio to think that he's not the only live puppet.
But I, at the same time, was waiting for them to make the realization for Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. And they never did. Mm-hmm. And I wish that they paid that off a little bit more, of being like, I'm Sabina, like, Sabina's my creation kind of a thing.
Sure.
Like, I am Sabina and Sabina is me.
Sure.
But I wish we got that payoff a little bit more.
Sure.
And then specifically on the representation point that I also want to make before I forget, I do really love the leg brace.
Yeah, I did too.
And the fact, now, in the fantasy world, like, in the time period that it would take place in, like,
that brace would not exist.
Medicine, well, the leg brace would exist, but, like, medicine wouldn't be able to call what I believe is cerebral palsy now. Uh-huh. And I believe that's what they were trying to relate to, was cerebral palsy. But I liked that they what they did with it, and saying, like, they were alluding to, well, was it an accident or was she born with it? They kind of allude to that she was born with it, but she's getting the positive outlook that she added the line of, well, it's getting better every day kind of thing. I like that. Mm-hmm. And, like, she knows that it's not ever going to happen and get better, but she still tries to dance. She still does what she can, and she uses her art of dancing through the puppet, which I thought was really, really beautiful. Anything else you want to talk about our friend Sabina, or
no, Pleasure Island?
Okay.
Yeah, so
all right, we'll let you take on
Pleasure Island. To me, was the exact spitting image when it was in the animation. Like, you see instead of actual alcohol, it's root beer. It's root beer.
Or sarsaparilla.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense.
Which I thought was actually really funny.
Yeah.
With the sarsaparilla thing. Because they had the sign sarsaparilla, which is what it would have been called around that time period, quote unquote. But I feel Disney was smart-ish and did, like, the Carousel of Progress thing of, like, these generations won't know what sarsaparilla was. We gotta call it root beer. Otherwise they won't. Otherwise we'll be, like, floundered for alcohol.
Sure.
Or the purist might go, like, they're drinking sarsaparilla, that's gotta be alcohol. And Disney would be like, no,
it's just root beer.
It's root beer, y'all. And they would still be like, no, alcohol.
But it kind of makes sense because the drinks themselves are almost a carbon copy of what you see them drinking in the anime.
Yeah, I mean, the bubbles are really great.
The bubble, like the fizz.
The fizz is great
because
on it.
Beer doesn't fizz like that.
Beer does not fizz like that.
I mean, you see it foam.
It's like bubbles.
Yeah,
it's like flat out bubbles.
Yeah, but this, I mean, it kind of also teaches kids, because obviously in the original one, they're drinking beer.
Yeah.
Because they're smoking in the original one, too.
100%. Yeah.
But it also kind of teaches kids, like, don't drink too much soda now, kids. So it's kind of like in the
it goes down the sugar route.
Yes, and I'm a little disappointed. I understand why, because the Motion Picture Association, if you light a cigarette, it's immediately R-rated.
Yep.
So it makes sense. I'm glad. It's fine, but I'm a little disappointed that they didn't have at least one cigarette. Like, you didn't need to light it.
Yeah.
But all you needed to have was one kid like looking
like,
at it.
Or maybe like a kid like putting it
Pretending,
in, and then Pinocchio like does something with it.
Because I loved how Pinocchio was toned down in this one, because in the original one he was doing everything. He was drinking, he was smoking, he was doing everything. Whereas this, there's a scene like he's on the boat and he has the root beer in his hand and he's like, I don't think my dad would like this, and I loved that. Well, it was perfect.
It really was. They illustrate his journey a little bit more. However, I will say, Pinocchio earns more of his transformation in the original than he does in this one. Mm-hmm. This one, like, a little bit of him turns, but you're like, he took like a sip or two, which again, he doesn't fully transform into a donkey, so it makes sense, but it's still like...
But he didn't do much.
I was like, he was questioning it the entire time.
Right. But I think it had something to do with the fact that he was still with Lampwick.
He was still doing it, yeah.
Which, when Lampwick when he started turning into the donkey, I'm like, this is literally the animated, almost the animated sequence. To me, fair. It was.
Now, again, I think I really need to just rewatch the original. But,
because literally, like, what do I look like? A jackass? Like, exact quote.
That is an exact quote.
And then he's like, did that come out of me? Starts changing, like, and starts yelling for mom and everything. And I'm like, it's almost to a T. You don't know. Come on.
But here's the thing. I remember the trauma of well, and that's the thing. I remember the trauma of it. And I feel like it was more traumatizing as an animation than it was when than the live action.
Mm-hmm. Because it was animation.
That's true. Because it was a kid's movie.
Well, I think also a lot of people didn't know something like that was coming.
That's true.
Whereas this, we knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming. That's true. I also, I guess, didn't put that into a factor.
I remember because I know majority of the people that probably saw Pinocchio didn't read that book.
No, I know.
The book's hard to find.
I don't even think I've read the book either.
I haven't. Book's hard to find.
I've seen multiple iterations of Pinocchio. I've seen multiple films. I've seen the Drew Carey one was terrible. But
the Robert Benigni one.
Yep, that one that one's yet horrifying, yet part of my childhood. That Italian, because that's the one that's like spoken in like full Italian, right? Yeah. That one, it's interesting. I remember getting McDonald's toys from that one.
But it was like English. The English dub of it was horrible.
Yeah, I remember not liking it, but I remember it still sticks in my mind.
But that's why if you go and see a movie and it's in a different language, you need to watch it in the language that is spoken and have subtitles. Don't watch the dubbing. You need to now anime
dubbing can be done well, but you should watch it in the original first.
Well, and with anime. It's voices, so
again, it
hit or miss, But with live action, you need to see in the original
100%.
But anyway, I digress. It's Monstro time.
Monstro time. So,
we are in spooky season.
So I thought Monstro was actually kind of done a little bit well.
I enjoyed
the chase
I liked
scene.
it.
I was not a huge fan of, but
so I hated the fact that. When Pinocchio left Pleasure Island, Geppetto hadn't been eaten yet.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. Like, Pinocchio wanted to go find Geppetto, and
then he gets eaten.
Well, and he found out, like, Geppetto went to go look for you. He heard you were going to Pleasure Island, and he was eaten by Monstro. Oh my gosh, I gotta go find Geppetto. And he, like, goes underwater, and there's this beautiful animated sequence of being underwater, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, but here... Even though it was funny when he went to go after Geppetto, it was like, so you did all that in one day? And then they're about to go, and then here comes Monstro, and everything. But it was such a letdown because I'm like, oh, Geppetto's been eaten. But they're like, oh no, he's out looking for you.
And then, oh, there he is. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sad.
But then Monstro came, I'm like,
When you're in Monstro, it's really cool. They did a really good job with all the shipwrecks in there. I thought that was great. That was from the original, which I know, but like
it definitely wasn't the Kingdom Hearts level.
No, but I love that Kingdom Hearts level.
I did too. Yeah.
I got some heavy Kingdom Hearts vibes from that, though.
I did too.
But
Kingdom Hearts 4, it's coming.
It's coming.
It wasn't
Star Wars Kingdom Hearts.
Don't
Star
you
Wars
dare
Kingdom
stop
Hearts.
it right now. I do not want a Star Wars.
Hey, we see that Sora can look really good in like that, like live, like final. You can do that with Star Wars.
I want Guardians of the Galaxy
and Pirates of the Caribbean. He did it.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
That would look good too. But anyway, so
Monstro. He didn't like it. I liked it.
No, I liked Monstro. There were elements that I didn't like. Though.
That's okay.
So like I said, the chase scene I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I also was not a big fan. So I liked the front half of Monstro.
Okay.
The whale side of Monstro.
Yes.
But in the animated, am I correct? Monstro was just a whale.
He was just a whale.
Okay, great. So for this one, they change up and try to make him a little more terrifying and make him more of a kraken, like half
monster,
whale, half kraken. No, make him a whale.
Well, and if they would have made him a whale, like I've seen YouTube videos of the Pinocchio ride in Disneyland. When he comes out and eats you, that is terrifying.
Like, and that's where I think Monstro like really works for me is because he's a whale. He's realistic.
Yeah, and he's scary. I mean,
scary. Like, I like the realism of that. Yeah. But when they made him tentacly, that took that realism away, and I was like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then again, the chase scene. I Motorboat Pinocchio, I don't need.
Yeah, I didn't need that. When he started doing that, when he got out of Pleasure Island, when he started doing like, no,
that's Dash from The Incredibles. I don't need that.
I didn't like that.
I would rather just have Monstro sneeze him out and then crash on the beach.
Yeah, I can't remember how, because I think they were about to get away out in the animated one.
Okay.
And like they're about to get out, they find the cave, they're swimming, and then all of a sudden here comes Monstro and bang!
Yeah.
And like Pinocchio,
which that's fine. Yeah. But like the whole like zooming around, like that was just weird.
Yeah.
I would have liked the suspense of maybe them being shot out or they're swimming trying to get to the cave. Like that would have been good suspense, and then having like the very titular shot of Monstro like swarming and opening the mouth. Like that would have been great. But I feel like the animation did a little bit better with Monstro.
Okay.
But again, there were good parts of Monstro. I don't want to underplay that.
So we're going to talk about two more things. So the ending of this film.
Yeah.
It's completely different than the original.
Yeah. But I also want to say right here, Cleo, your fishbowl is fucking indestructible.
I know.
There were multiple times.
How did he not fall out?
There were falling out. That glass bowl should have broke.
I know.
Multiple times.
Well, like when he like showed up on the surface, I'm like, that fish had so many opportunities to just jump in the water and swim away.
Yeah.
Totally, and the cat. I mean,
I would not. Okay, Cleo is lucky Cleo is lucky that she had the fishbowl while she was inside of Monstro, because if she would have jumped out into the water inside Monstro's mouth, she would have been eaten flat out. She's not strong enough to make that current, man.
No,
but when she spat out, when she is slammed into there are multiple times. There are multiple times where that glass bowl should have broke. That glass bowl is the strong will that I need to survive.
Okay, let's talk about the ending real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's actually talk about the real ending.
It was different. So here's the thing.
Okay.
I was expecting, because as soon as the crash happened, and Pinocchio's like down, I'm like, that's the moment. Like he's dead.
Yeah.
And Geppetto was gonna get up, like Pinocchio, and then there he is.
Yep.
But then he got up. I'm like, they're gonna switch it. God damn it! You're gonna kill Tom Hanks. How dare you? And then he's like trying to wake him up, and
Chrissy, wake up.
Yeah, and Pinocchio had this moment and he's starting to cry.
Yep.
And he starts to sing the When You Wish Upon a Star. I'm like,
Yep.
And it was it was almost perfect. I'm like, so he's not only going to save Geppetto, but he's going to change into the real boy.
Yep.
So I got the first thing. He saves Geppetto.
Well, hold on. Because here's the thing that a lot of people actually haven't been getting.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
A lot of people... And here's the thing. I really like this ending, but I would have liked it more if they committed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they were going to go on the theme of, you can make mistakes, but you can always change.
Sure.
And it's not going to be a change that you think, but you can always grow and change.
Sure.
In ways that you don't expect. If they would have committed to having Pinocchio stay as a puppet, I would have loved it. Would have adamantly said this ending is actually will supersede. And here's the thing, I actually like the original ending of Geppetto, no, and he's crying, I love it. It really tugs at the heartstrings. But in that aspect, I like the original ending better. But if they would have committed and stayed as the puppet, I really would have loved it. I think that would have made me jump over.
Because at the last second.
Because at the very last second, because they start to play it off of, well, legend said that he turned into a real boy, and I don't know. But then they tongue-in-cheek it at the very last second. If you look at Pinocchio, he does change into a real boy. They shouldn't have done it.
I agree. Yeah.
It happens so much at the last second that people are missing it.
Yeah.
But it's, if you look at the telltale sign is the joints. You look at his knees or you look at his elbows. His arm turns into a noodle.
Yeah.
That's what really made me go, oh, noodle. Okay.
Well, I noticed his nose changed a little bit.
Oh,
too.
you noticed the nose? Okay, interesting. But
and the hair was different too.
To me, the limbs were the things that were like, oh, he changed.
I noticed his hand, his nose, and the hair.
Got it.
And the skin tone was different.
Skin tone took a little bit because the pine really was about the same color.
But yeah, I will agree. I feel like if they would have committed to just him staying the puppet, that would have been nice. Yeah. But who knows? They may add a sequel.
Who knows? It's possible.
I mean,
we're getting a Mufasa
prequel, for God's
evidently.
sake.
Okay, here's the thing. I will say we might be doing a D23 video later after all the announcements have come out.
Wait a minute.
Possibly. We don't know. I won't commit to it.
Video?
Well, not video, but podcast.
Yes.
Episode. Yeah. We might. We don't know. We're still in kind of like discussions of it, but we have to let D23 finish because as of recording, D23 is not over just yet. We still have Sunday.
One more day, yeah.
And there's still some very big things that can be announced.
Sure.
Especially that affect me and you, Mitch.
Sure.
But
one thing that has been
announced has been a Mufasa prequel. So,
yeah.
So I like the idea of a Mufasa prequel. I would love to see the history between Mufasa and Scar. That would be great to see. Mm-hmm. But why? Why do you have to do it on the live action side? Because that's the thing. That is literally the thing of Lion King that everyone, whether you're a Disney fan or not, says is the issue with that film is the live action-ness of it. They said if it were to be done as an animation or even as like Tangled or Frozen's like 3D animation, I would be okay with that.
Not a live action.
But not a live action because again, I don't care if you catch James Earl Jones. I don't care if Jeremy Irons comes back.
Yeah.
I could even have Chiwetel Ejiofor come back as Scar, which I would love.
They already have two people. They already have two people cast.
Yeah, so. I know, but again, I could care less. And the fact that you're doing a 3D animation, you're not doing it in animation, it nixes it for me. But I might just wait till Disney Plus.
But one thing that they've released a Disney 100 logo.
That they have.
And this film is literally the startup to Disney's 100th anniversary because the clocks that Geppetto makes, literally, there's a Sheriff Woody one in there. That's
the first one, which I was like, okay, you did Tom Hanks, you have to do
But then
Woody.
I saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There was a Lion King one in there. I saw an Aladdin.
Yep.
I mean,
it goes through a lot of them.
I think I saw Steamboat Willie one in there.
There was a Steamboat Willie one. There was a Who Framed Roger Rabbit one.
Yes. I love the Who Framed Roger Rabbit one.
They went through so many. I guarantee you, if you will have to pause to see. I feel like they almost did almost every single Disney film.
It was close.
It was close. They did a Black Cauldron one too that I saw.
I saw the Black Cauldron one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I saw Sleeping Beauty was there. Cinderella was there.
Cinderella was there. They did.
I think that this film to me is the start of Disney's 100th anniversary.
100%. Which is why I was really kind of shocked. Because we have a new logo now for all of our Disney films.
We will have it next year.
Starting next year. But I think this one should have started them.
I think so too.
I think they should have, because Disney Plus Day happened the day that they released this, which was September 8th. Thursday. They should have announced. Should it have started Disney 100? No. But this should have
the logo.
This should have been the first one with the logo.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's fine. I love the new logo. I think the logo looks great. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is the official start of Disney 100 is D23. But I feel like Pinocchio was the unofficial start of it.
I will agree. Yeah. But yeah, so that's that episode.
That's Pinocchio.
That is Pinocchio.
Disney 2022 version of Pinocchio. We are going to watch Netflix's interpretation with Guillermo del Toro's stop motion animation,
which I'm really excited for.
I'm excited to see that. Ewan McGregor is doing
Jiminy Cricket.
Cricket.
Not Jiminy Cricket, but
the Cricket.
Yeah, the Cricket.
So I'm excited to see that, but I'm really excited, to be honest, not only to see that, but to compare that one to this one.
Yeah, and we will compare these films.
I feel like it's an automatic.
Yes, we have to.
So yeah, until that time, I'm Zach.
And don't forget to like and share.
Oh yeah, of course. Don't forget to like and share.
And if you have anything that you want us to watch or review or anything, get in touch with us
at elzpodcast@gmail.com.
But until
podcastmz@gmail.com.
But until that time,
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch,
and we are
an excellent little podcast.